Welcome to the Alcohol Free Life podcast. I'm Janey Lee Grace. This is for you if you've quit the booze or you'd like to, or maybe you're just sober curious. I'll bring you tips and motivation without any judgment, and there'll be inspiration from experts, quit-lit authors, and sober heroes. Hi and welcome to the podcast. How you doing in this strange time, lockdown week? I really hope or rather second week, is it? I'm losing all track of time. I don't know about you. They tell me it's Friday. I hope you're faring well wherever you are. There's been so much on social media, on my blog, and everywhere you look. People are giving us positive messages, and you know, I'm still hanging on to that, despite looking a bit feral and not really going out very much. I'm focusing on the positive because what else can we do right now? There isn't much we can control, but we can control our own thoughts. That's the one thing we can control. And we can control what we consume. So there's never been a better time than to focus, I believe, on self-care. And I did say last week that I've written a blog post called, or I'm calling this time, self-care isolation. It's not just self-isolation. We need to bring in the self-care and all that means. Check out the blog post on thesoberclub.com. And we know what we have to do, don't we? We just already know this. We have to look after our health and well-being at this time. Got to boost our immunity. Absolutely got to stay well and stay positive. Don't listen to the news 3 times a day. It will freak you out. You know, assign some time, set some boundaries around your time and develop a new rhythm. I like the word rhythm rather than routine. I'm really bad at that. I find it really difficult when my usual structure is taken away from me. I find it hard. And I've found this last week, particularly when it's not been quite so sunny here in the UK, I found it much more difficult to get motivated, to get up at the same time and to be motivated to do all the things that I should be doing. So there's that word should again. So I think I said on the podcast last week, my heart goes out to you obviously if you're ill right now, but also if you're just feeling really high levels of anxiety and fear and stress over all of this, or if you're just feeling despondent and you're feeling, my God, the whole world is Joe Wixing every morning and knitting and crocheting and creating amazing scrapbooks, and the whole world's decluttered their house, but look at me, I haven't done anything. You know what? That's okay too. It honestly is okay. So I just want to reach out to you because we're all different. Everyone's processing this differently. But I just would say, wherever you are within any of this, just ask for the support you need. Reach out and get the support that you need. And that's a view echoed by my guest today, which I'll tell you all about in a moment. I just wanted to mention a couple of things that I had seen in the news, in the media. I don't know about you, but it's actually starting to drive me bonkers. Seeing all these social media posts about, I'm homeschooling with gin. Clean the floor, have a glass of wine. It's just exhausting. It's so not funny. And I mean, honestly, I just feel so grateful to be sober. Really, really grateful. If you are struggling at the moment, you're finding that all of this has sent you backwards, as it were, and you've started drinking again, reach out for help. It's really normal to do that, to sort of revert back to old unconscious habits. So just reach out for help. There's so much available, so much help and motivation. Just check out what the Sober Club offers. Just send someone a message. Follow some of the many amazing experts on Instagram and get the help that you need right now, because it is there for you, I promise you. Anyways, what was I going to say? Yeah, so I saw that alcohol sales have risen by 22% in the recent period. So I guess they're looking at over the last couple of weeks. I mean, that's staggering. 22% in the UK. Unbelievable. People are drinking so much more, obviously off licenses deemed necessary. It's really, really worrying. I also saw another piece which I thought was interesting in the press this week. said graphic health warnings on alcohol could curb drinking. They're saying health warning labels on alcohol and snacks might encourage people to avoid them. Putting graphic medical images on chocolate, beer and wine meant people wanted to consume them less. Now, currently, as you know, in the UK, we have these warnings on cigarette packets, on tobacco products. But now they've done this study saying, looking at how people are affected by these images. And it says participants were most horrified by pictures and text about bowel and liver cancer. The same results for bowel cancer were seen for warnings on a chocolate bar. Now, this is the interesting bit of this study. It says, while participants disliked the health warnings, they accepted them more on chocolate than they did on alcohol. Isn't that interesting? I wonder why. I wonder if it's because alcohol is highly addictive and because these messages are incredibly mixed. We've been told for hundreds of years that alcohol is good for you and a little tipple never did anyone any harm. There's all of these mixed messages. So in the same breath that they're deeming alcohol necessary and telling us, it sounds normal to me if you're drinking every day, they're also saying, be very scared. Don't go over the top, otherwise you'll get bowel or liver cancer. I mean, the mixed messaging is it's bonkers. It honestly is. And this study shows the thing that I'm always banging on about, which is that emotions, not logic, inspire action. We've all been told a million times that alcohol is no good for us. Of course I knew that. Of course I'd read the studies that said it was linked to all these cancers. But emotionally, I felt connected to it. Why? Because it was my norm. It's the societal norm. And so you need to change your feelings around this. Yes, do your research and get the logic in place and get the, study what's going on here with alcohol. But by the same token, you need to be inspired and motivated that your life will be better. That's my line. Anyways, today's show, we've got a great show lined up for you today, great podcast. I've teamed up with Sipling. I love their alcohol-free drinks because they're served directly from the bottle. So they're mocktails, effectively, and this is a fantastic range created by, I think he calls himself a dinner party mixologist. Avnish. And these drinks are just great. So you can just buy it ready to go, as it were, made from natural flavourings and extracts. There isn't any kind of nasty allergens or artificial sweeteners in there. So this is someone who's turned his cocktail crafting passion into a mission to produce great, absolutely amazing, great alcohol-free drinks. So whether you're sober or you just want to have something different to drink and still drive home or whatever, drive home. That will happen again in a while, we hope. Then we're going to bring you an interview with Avnish. I thought it'd be really interesting to hear his story. But before that, we have a fascinating guest. Shaa Wasmund MBE is a woman I've known for a good long time. She is... She's an incredible entrepreneur. She'll tell you all about what she does. Now, you might be thinking, well, what has any of this got to do with this podcast? And what's interesting is in the Sober Club, we've had a few discussions where people are, at this time, just feeling absolutely lost in terms of their work, their career, those who have their own business, they don't know whether it's going to survive, those who work for other companies, several of them are finding that their businesses are collapsing. This is a really difficult time for everyone. And again, also, putting routines and rhythms in place, as I was already saying. And Shaa Wasmund is actually queen of all of this stuff. She really is the absolute queen of helping small businesses, really. Years ago at Smarter, which was the number one website for small businesses, she was able to help more than 12 million people. She has an MBE, as I say, for services to business and entrepreneurship. But in addition to all of that, I found out some stuff I didn't know before about Shaa, and it's so inspiring to hear her story, which really, really relates to so many people who have found themselves with an addiction to alcohol or whatever else it might be in their life. It always feels so easy for us to look at other people and say, oh, well, they've done well because they had it easy. But sometimes, hearing someone else's story can make you realize, actually, in addition to working through what's been going on for you in the past, sometimes the really important thing to do is grasp what you do have and have absolute gratitude and move forward from there. So it's a high energy chat we got going on here, and I really hope you find it inspirational. So it's a Shaa Wasmund MBE, and after that we're going to talk about fabulous alcohol-free drinks. So I'm really pleased that my guest is Shaa Wasmund MBE. How amazing to chat to you, Shaa. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hello, my love.
It's lovely to speak to you. So let's just back up and tell people a little bit about you. Let's just talk about your amazing successes first, because you've not only are you MBE for Services to Business and Entrepreneurship, but you're also one of the UK's top 20 most influential entrepreneurs. Wow, look at that. That's amazing. And you're a very prolific author, and you do amazing stuff in the business world. So just blow your own trumpet for a few minutes.
Oh my God.
And then we'll back up.
Now I feel really embarrassed, which is not something I normally do.
No, just tell, because there'll be people listening to this who maybe haven't come across your work or your books yet.
I just don't want everyone to hate me from the get-go. Wow, what kind of ego is she coming in with?
No, not at all. Just tell us a little bit about just tell us a bit about your current book and a little bit about your work, and then we'll get into all the back stuff.
Love to. So my current book is called How to Fix Your Shit, a straightforward guide to a better life, which quite frankly is probably well timed, considering that as we record this, we are in week 1 of isolation from the coronavirus. I know that people will be listening to this way after this has all been a long distant memory. But for those of you who are listening in the short term, and also for those of you who are listening later on, we don't know what we're going into at the moment. So learning how to fix your shit and reading books is probably a good way to be spending your time.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's really true. I mean, I work a lot with people who they've ditched the booze. They've come through that massive hurdle, and now they're starting to wake up in all other areas of their life, and they're really starting to get their act together in what they want to do, whether that's, change career or change relationship or get fit or get healthy or whatever.
Start a business.
Yes, start a business. Absolutely. I know lots of people who've suddenly found the courage and the bravery to do that once they've ditched the booze. But then, of course, all of this can send people, if you're not careful, it can send you literally right back to square one, so that you feel so uncertain, so panicky, that all that kind of bravery and courage that you felt you had can slip back. So, we really need, your really sort of solid tips actually here around how we get our act together, I think.
I think you're absolutely right. And for me, at the heart of everything I do in my business, and I mean, Janey, you know this, that my business, my passion really is to help small businesses and entrepreneurs coincidentally get their businesses online, because I've been a proponent of trying to encourage those people who do run their own businesses to take their businesses online for about the last 5 years. And now I'm getting literally hundreds of messages a day saying, oh my God, how do I get my business online? Because we're currently in a situation where we can't do any face-to-face work. So it's a really different world that we are currently, as we're recording this, experiencing. So interesting times. But like you said, I feel when we are put into situations of overwhelm, it either makes us or breaks us.
Yeah, that's really true. Let's back up a bit then and tell people a bit about your background, because, as you said at the beginning, it seems like you've got you've got all this going on. You've got this silver spoon in your mouth. Oh, how lucky you are. But actually, it definitely wasn't always like that, was it? You had a rocky start, to say the least. Tell us a bit about that, because I think sometimes to actually know how far people have come it can be amazing.
I think it's crucial to understand that, especially when you hear people that maybe you don't know, it's really easy. And I'm guilty of this too, to make automatic judgments based around, how they come across or how they're described. And the automatic judgment that, being really honest, that I would make when I heard this was, wow, she must have had it lucky. Like she must be connected, or she must come from a good family. And truthfully, absolutely none of that is true. Single parent family, never left the country till I was 16. in fact, I was born in California, I lost the accent. But when we came back, when I was 10, 11, we actually lived in a hostel for homeless families. And we had to wait for nearly 2 years before the council could house us onto a council estate. And in those 2 years, I used to get off the bus from school a mile before where the hostel was, because I didn't want anyone to find out where I lived. So please make no mistake to anybody who's listening. Firstly, it doesn't matter where you're from. What matters is where you're going. And I would like to think that I'm, living proof of that. Secondly, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to be able to make that transition, because I'm not. That's not some faux humility. Yes, I think I'm smart, but actually I think I'm far more street smart. And that is something that the School of Life gives you, not some university degree. Mm-hmm. And the other thing that I think is really important, especially the nature of what we're talking about on your podcast today and your podcast in general, is that I grew up in an incredibly dysfunctional family. I should say that is entirely on my dad's part. He, despite being a scholarship graduate from Stanford University, which is one of the hardest universities in the world to get into. In fact, I saw a report in I think it was in either the Times or the Telegraph yesterday. I don't know why they printed like this, but it just got my attention, that it's actually, you have more chances of getting the coronavirus than you do getting into Stanford.
Is that right?
So, I'd like to think that the coronavirus would be lower than that, because I don't want anyone to get it. But it's an interesting stat, because it goes to show what happens when people think that. As you think, okay, well, somebody who's that well educated, why would they be an alcoholic or a drug addict? Again, all these assumptions that people make about who suffers from alcoholism or an issue, a problem with narcotics. It's not any one demographic. My dad was incredibly smart, and yet, drank a lot and took even more drugs. And as a result of that, I experienced huge domestic violence as I was growing up. He was incredibly violent. And I'm absolutely sure that growing up like that played a very big part in my own life choices, including the one that I've never drunk alcohol.
Yeah, that is amazing, actually, because I think it can go one of two ways, can't it? We hear a lot of people who say, well, their parents were drank, or one parent was an alcoholic, and so that just seemed the obvious thing to do, for them to sort of fall into that, particularly in times of stress or whatever, as they grew up. But there must have been something very, very strong in you where you could see that in order to protect yourself, you knew that was the route. Can you remember back to how you felt back then when you made that choice? Because it must have been a very conscious choice, because I'm guessing around you when you were a teenager, there must have been everybody else must have been drinking.
Yeah, absolutely. And if I was being honest, I think I could probably trace it back until I was 8 years old, when my dad literally nearly killed my mum. And the only reason my mum actually left, and I'm not sure if I've ever shared this publicly, is because I was literally cooking. I was baking chocolate chip cookies and putting rat's poison in them, because I'd already worked out that, if it was a choice between my mum and my dad living, then my mum was going to live. And my mum just decided that, that if she didn't leave at that point, then it was quite likely that I was going to do something. And that is a terrible sense of responsibility for an 8-year-old to have. But I also remember in that moment thinking to myself, as a female, as a woman, as a girl, as a young girl of 8, I remember thinking to myself, I am never, ever, 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 ever getting myself in this situation.
But you could see that it was were you old enough to process that it was alcohol doing that to him? Was that because you also saw him when he was okay, and it was so you could see that it was the alcohol, or was it that your mum told you it was the alcohol?
Oh no, I could see the amount of empty bottles. I could see.
Right.
I came in one day with lines of cocaine on top of the toilet seat, and my 2-year-old brother crawling on the floor in the bathroom whilst my dad was passed out. Like, yeah, I saw more than enough, way more than enough. Yeah. So I think it started at 8, and then I remember 13, 14, 15, can't remember exactly, but it was at a time point where teenagers start wanting to test alcohol, and I was just like, nope. Yeah. And I think that's when my backbone kind of really grew, because of the peer pressure around you to do stuff. And I remember with a group of my closest friends, where they were all drinking cider. I mean, oh my God, just a teenage thing to do, right? And I just said, I'm not touching that shit. And they all of them, even though they were my friends, started to try to make me feel like there was something wrong with me.
Yeah.
And I just remember it didn't affect me at all. Like it didn't affect me at all. And I can't remember exactly what I said, but it was basically like, you lot do what the hell you want to do. Don't think you're going to get me to do what you want me to do. And I've never changed. I've never ever succumbed to peer pressure. But I think that was because for me, the fear of what could happen to me outweighed 100 to 1 whatever benefit they were trying to tell me there was from having it. I was just like, it'd be like somebody saying to you, smoke a cigarette, and yet your belief was if you smoked one, you are 100% going to die of cancer. That was how strong my belief was. My belief was one drink, you're going to end up like that fuckwit. And I was like, never on my watch is that ever happening.
Yeah, it's really interesting, isn't it? How that's such trauma for a child, isn't it? And you emerge the other end so incredibly strong, and having made those decisions. What work did you have to do, as it were, for yourself, or what help did you get to be able to sort of work through some of that trauma so that you didn't end up traumatized as an adult?
Well, without sounding like some kind of unicorn, I genuinely have had no help ever. And what I mean by that, I've had no professional help. I've had no counseling. I've had absolutely nothing. And that was a conscious choice of my own, good or bad. I just really my dad died when I was 21, and oh my God, that was like a whole entire another scene. My mum forced me to go to the funeral in Palm Springs because she felt it'd be closure for me. And it literally could have been a scene out of like the 1980s Dallas movie. And I feel like I just came to terms with it. Like, you know, taking that as an example, my mum thought that I needed closure, but I had closure I think I had closure at 8 years old.
Yeah.
I was just like, I saw way too much. It went beyond the point of any return ever. I mean, in one of my dad's episodes where he was both drunk and he'd been drinking and taking cocaine, he tried to drive the car off a cliff with my mum and my brother and myself in it. And my mum had to crash the car into the actual cliff itself in order to make sure he didn't go off the cliff. And I mean, that was my childhood for big chunks of it. So I don't know. I think that the support I've had is both my mum and my nan are really, really strong characters. I think my mum didn't know how to leave for a very long time. And it was only until it came to a crucial point. Like, I think she literally had to say to herself, well, you know, am I going to see my child like having to bear killing her own dad before I leave? And if I don't, that's where we're going to end up.
What would your message be then, just if there's anyone listening who is with a partner, you know, who is taking this too far? Because these issues can be really complex, can't they? It isn't always as simple as I'm going to get the hell out immediately. It can be really, really complex, and I wouldn't have a clue where to start helping people to help themselves in that.
Yeah, I'm really binary. It's one of my favorite words. And I'm pretty binary in everything that I do, and pretty binary in most of my advice. And my advice would 100% always be leave. It is not straightforward. I'm not pretending that it is. I'm not suggesting that it's simple. But what I know for sure from experience and from any and all of my friends that I have known who've been through this, whether they experienced it as a child or as an adult themselves, not one single solitary time has a perpetrator of domestic violence changed.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
If you don't leave now,
when? And what about if there's no domestic violence, but there is just the alcoholism? What would you say then? I think that's
different, because your life isn't necessarily at risk, but it depends on the extremities of the alcoholism. And fundamentally, it also depends on whether that person even accepts that they have. Are they an alcoholic? Do they feel that are they prepared to get help? There's so many variables where that's concerned, but when it comes to domestic violence, there is only one thing you have to do, and you have to get out by whatever means necessary. I know that from experience. But with alcohol, you know, I've had friends who I wouldn't necessarily say that they were probably a couple with maybe what the official definition would be a functioning alcoholic.
Yeah.
And but they could not survive. I mean, if they went into quarantine right now for the coronavirus and were told that they couldn't have any alcohol for 3 months, like literally, they would probably rather have the coronavirus than not have any alcohol. But I've seen them, something happened for each of them, they lost someone, something happened.
Yeah.
They did something that was so stupendously stupid that maybe, for example, one person I'm thinking of lost their job, but something of such a magnitude had to happen for it to be so black and white. They could not argue any longer that they didn't have a problem. And then I've seen them turn it around. So I think that if people are prepared to turn it around and they're taking active measures to do so, they deserve our support, as long as that doesn't come with any other form of abuse.
Yeah, absolutely. So what happened for you then when you made your decision not to drink? You obviously knew you had an amazing amount of drive. How did what were the steps that got you to the amazing success that you've had?
I've never ever talked about this ever publicly on any interviews, on any podcast. But I've been recently reading, well, when I say recently, it was last year, a book on something that I'd never heard of before. But when I read the book, it made so much sense for me. And it'll be interesting. I'm sure some of your listeners, it will resonate with them as well. Post-traumatic stress, post-traumatic growth disorder, not stress disorder. Post-traumatic growth disorder. And what this book describes is what you would consider a super high functioning person. To the outside world looks supremely capable and in control, and for most of it that person is, and this would absolutely fit me to a T. And yet, if you unpacked that person a little bit deeper, you would see that they never stopped. So the growth was almost like a false growth, because they were maybe growing because they worked for 20 hours a day. It was like being on Pro Plus for like years on end, right?
Yeah.
And post-traumatic growth is this study that a very small percentage of people who go through extreme trauma like I did, instead of suffering from PTSD, they suffer from a different variant, post-traumatic growth disorder. It's now, there's lots of studies on it. Now, it was quite a recent thing, but it makes so much sense to me that this person is in constant need of moving forward. I literally cannot sit still. Not only can I not sit still, imagine this, I have a massage and within 30 seconds of the massage finished, I'm off the bed before the massage therapist is even turned around, and I'm not even thinking of it consciously. So part of this disorder is a real inability to slow down and stop. We're not trying to prove anything to people. It's our like, you're always in fight or flight mode.
Yeah, absolutely. But surely within that is going to come burnout or a
100%.
If you can't ever relax and you are always in fight or flight mode, then that's actually not very good for your body, because it's
absolutely not.
Cortisol is flowing the whole time.
This is not the richer cousin of PTSD. Trust me, it's just a different variation of it. That symptoms manifest themselves in different ways. And honestly, I read that book and I absolutely resonated.
But that's amazing then. So by identifying it, maybe perhaps now then you can in your case, you're gonna have to force yourself to put some chilling and some self-care in place of a slightly different nature that probably in the past you just said, I haven't got time for that.
Absolutely. And also it's an acknowledgement that we don't always have to be striving for the next thing. And I feel like part of the reasons so for me, it was an absolute need for financial stability, because I never had anything. Everything was always taken away from me. And then coupled with this, I've always got to be going forward, driving faster, because then I can keep away from whatever it is I'm running away from. But equally, the flip side of that is I don't ever really feel like I'm in flight mode. I always feel like I'm in fight mode. Like, you've known me for a while, like, loyalty is my number one value in life. And I just tend to find that I probably have a greater propensity than other people to be massively defensive of my people. Like, I mean, I would literally, like, you know, you can criticize me. I'm all good with that. But if I find someone like talking about you behind your back, I'm like ready to go to war. Like I'm ready to get a baseball bat out. Like the extremes that I'm really fortunate. This isn't sarcasm at all. I'm very fortunate that I'm not a guy, because I genuinely think that if I was, I would potentially be in prison. Genuinely not a joke. Because I'm 5'4" and quite slight, so people don't realise.
We ought to chip in at this point and say you did work with Chris Eubank for a while.
I did, well, no, there's so much of that to unpack when you think about this, right? I am genuinely in my element, ringside at a boxing match. I'm in my element, surrounded by guys like that, because I think it makes me feel very protected. Like I felt totally unprotected with my dad. In fact, I had to protect myself. And I feel that I've got that lioness about me, where I'm constantly like on the prowl, looking around, waiting for a bomb to go off, waiting for something to happen, waiting for someone that I need to protect. I remember when I was 21, maybe 20, I was on the night bus home with my boyfriend at the time. And we were on the top of a double-decker bus going down Oxford Street. And I could see a guy push his girlfriend like really with great force, so that her head smashed the window down the M&S. Well, within 10 seconds, I was off the bus. My boyfriend was screaming, "What the hell are you doing?" Right? And so I genuinely don't have that radar that stops me. I don't have the filter. And I think that's because of how I grew up. So that fear that I should have, like the better thing to have done was to get off the bus and call the police, right? Of course, there's, you know, that's the sensible thing. But I didn't see any of that in the moment. In hindsight, I would never have consciously done that, because it's not the sensible thing to do. The sensible thing to do would have been to have got off, tried to talk him out of it, called the police. But no, I got off like I was like some, you know, like 6'5" SAS person, and I was ready to have a fight. And that's not normal. Like, or I just add.
So having identified then that this is you, and this constant drive and push and growth, albeit from trauma, what were some of the steps you took initially that got you, you know, your success? I know you what was the first kind of business you did? It was PR, wasn't it? You worked with James Dyson and Chris Eubank.
The first thing I did was I entered a competition for Cosmopolitan magazine whilst I was at LSE, whilst I was at uni, and I wasn't really interested in doing economics. I wanted to go and write and be creative. So grateful, I won the competition, and then I stole some paper from the editor's office from Marcel Dargy-Smith. She was a legendary editor, and I stole some letterheaded paper from her office and wrote Chris Eubank a letter, pretended that I'd been commissioned by Cosmo to interview him. He accepted, and all of a sudden I had this interview on my hands, and I was going into my final year at LSE. And to cut a long story short, at the end of my interview with him, he offered me a job. And so I ended up working with Chris whilst trying to do a degree in my final year, and deciding that actually working with Chris was way more fun and probably far more valuable to my future. So I think that how that manifested itself was just that fear gene. Like I gave you an example of how whether it's really not a good thing, but there are many other areas where it's a really good thing. So I'm not worried about people saying no. I'm not worried about rejection. I'm not worried about any of that stuff. And because of that, it set me in really good stead from a very young age, because I would just go out for every chance that I could possibly create. I wasn't looking to take chances from other people. I was always on the hunt. What do I want to do? Right? How do I make that happen? Even when I got into LSE. So I studied English, history and German for my A-levels, and I really didn't like German, and I knew that I wasn't going to get as good a grade. I was probably going to get a C, but I was pretty sure I was going to get an A for English and history. So I made an appointment to see the admissions tutor at LSE. And when I went to see her, she told me that out of the entire year that was coming, no one else had asked to see her. And I said, well, really what I want to talk to you about is I'm worried I'm going to get a C in my German. So is it possible, instead of having an ABB offer, that you could do me an AAC offer? And she just looked at me as if to say, are you insane, girl? And she said, well, I'm not sure if you realize, but LSE isn't really in the habit of changing their standard offer structure. I said, I realize that, but you know, I've got into Oxford and I don't want to go to Oxford. I want to come to LSE. And anyway, lo and behold, when I got my offer, I got an AAC offer. And so I got into LSE. But again, I think that shows you, it wasn't because I was super smart. It's because I had an idea and I wasn't afraid of pursuing it. And I feel that so many of us would achieve so much more if we were able to put that fear aside.
It's so interesting that resonates so much with my story, because I was the same. I didn't have exactly the same trauma of childhood, but I was dealing with a parent with severe mental health issues, so that had, you know, sort of had its own trauma, if you like. And I think I've probably got a little bit of this PTGD that you're talking about as well, because, and a very similar story, when I wanted to work in radio, I heard an ad for from the BBC, which was offering training courses, presentation and production training courses for people who were under 25 and living in Vauxhall in London. And of course, I was neither. But I wrote this this letter, and I you know, I said all the reasons why I wanted to work in radio. And then I actually said, I'm going to be completely honest. I'm not under 25. I think I was 27 or something, and I don't live in Vauxhall. But actually, as the BBC, I don't think you should be areaist, because that's not really very good. And I don't think you should be ageist. And then I put PS, actually, I appreciate you've got your rules. Can you point me in the direction of another course? And then I got this lovely phone call from this guy saying, well, you're very cheeky, so you may as well come on the course. So you're right. I know how that feels. It's fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah, and if we could just carry that through all of our adult life, it would serve us well.
Yeah, yeah. So you did all these amazing things. I know your passion has always been helping people start businesses, start small, get businesses online. But back to just people, well, all of us, back to your kind of how you fix your shit, and your other book, you know, Do Less, Get More. Do less, get more. I mean, really, these general principles do apply to us all.
100%.
So, yeah. So particularly right now, then, when so many people are probably having to find some kind of new normal, they're trying to, you know, find a new rhythm, a new routine. Give us just a few top tips that would, you know, maybe resonate with all of us.
Okay, number one, ask for help. Yeah. Asking for help is a sign of strength, not a sign of weakness. I am literally gold medal, triple. I'm like literally at the love child of Michael Phelps and Usain Bolt when it comes to asking for help. I will ask for help for everything. I truly believe it's a sign of strength. And what's happened over the years is we've been made to feel like it's a weakness. So when we need something, we're reticent to ask. And what I'd encourage everybody to think is that when you ask for help, you give permission to everybody else to ask for help too. Yeah. So you asking for help isn't a sign of weakness, it's a sign of strength, but also you are giving the person that you're asking for help from, or the people you're asking for help from, permission to do exactly the same.
But also, not only that, just to add to that, I interviewed Dr. David Hamilton recently, and of course he would say, in terms of kindness from a scientific perspective, that if that person is exactly, if that person is able to help you, they actually get more benefit than you as the recipient. Yeah. So you're actually doing someone a good turn, allowing them to help you, aren't you?
100%. Yeah. It's the gift that keeps on giving. Number two, find your community. Yeah. And this isn't just about small businesses. You could be in a job, find a community of like-minded people and hang out with them more than you hang out with the people who bring your energy down. And sometimes it's easier to do than it is to say, but I would practice it so it becomes much easier, because fundamentally that's been my greatest gift in life, is being surrounded by incredible people. Many of my friends I've had since I was 21, maybe even before that, some right the way back from primary school. Relationships are my jam. I'm a long-term committed relationship person. I don't just mean in my intimate relationship. I mean in my friendships, in the people that I love and trust and respect. And when you create that kind of environment around you, it is honestly your greatest asset. And if you're listening to this and thinking to yourself, my God, where on earth do I find one like that? Truthfully, you have to take a leap of courage and an act of faith, and you have to go out there and try to create one. And along the way, be prepared for some complete twats who are going to stab you in the back. But for everyone that you meet that's like that, those random dickheads, there will be 10 amazing people. Don't let the random dickhead color your judgment on the 10 amazing people you've yet to meet.
Yeah.
The third one is accept it's literally the serenity prayer. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and finally the wisdom to know the difference. So control the controllables. Right now, we're in the midst of this coronavirus. I cannot control the coronavirus. I can control my distance, my physical distance from other people. But more importantly than that, I feel, given that we're in isolation, I'm not in any close contact with the outside world, I can control my own mindset. How do I do that? Yeah. Well, I do it by monitoring what I consume from the media and social media. I monitor the messages and the noises and the conversations that I am participating in. I am in control of deciding whether I'm going to use this to bounce forward or fall backwards. Which one do you want to do?
Yeah. Love it. I love those 3 tips, and they all apply
to everybody, all of us, myself,
to everyone. Yeah, they really do, and they also all really apply to to people who are ditching the booze right now as well. Because just to pick up on well, obviously finding your community. That's something we talk about all the time. We have the Sober Club. We have lots of amazing communities, which are just incredible for people doing that. But also, the last point you made, you're absolutely right. We can control our mindset. We can absolutely control our thoughts, and cravings are just thoughts. So people who are going through that, we can reframe those things. So yeah, it's fantastic advice. I love it. So tell us about a little bit about your current book, and then for anyone who has got a business or is thinking of starting a business, just tell us a bit more about your Freedom Collective work.
Absolutely. So my latest book, How to Fix Your Shit, is available, of course, on Amazon. I would say you could go into, your local WH Smith.
Soon, we hope.
And if you're listening to this in 5 years' time, then you probably can and get it on back order. But right now, just go to Amazon, How to Fix Your Shit. And it really is the style that you guys have heard with me chatting to Janey today. My writing style is very much conversational, because I believe that books are such a fantastic medium to help people. And I don't believe for 1 second that I can do anything for anyone else. But what I do believe is that you reading the book can take bits out of it that resonate with you, and you can use those to fix your shit.
Yeah,
so it's not me coming into your life to fix your shit for you. I don't believe the power is all with me. I believe the power is all within the reader. And sometimes we just need a small little simple change of perception, a different way of looking at something, a reframe, a different tip or a tool or a trick that makes us go, oh, now I've got it.
Yeah, exactly. It's a little light bulb moment, isn't it?
Yes, totally. And if you can just take one thing out of a book, I believe that's useful. So I'd like to think you can take more than one thing out of the book, but How to Fix Your Shit, available on Amazon.
Yeah, and your tell us a little bit about the Freedom Collective.
So Janey is part of it. And if any of you are in the position where you are currently employed, but you're thinking about setting up a business, or you're running a business, it doesn't really matter kind of what size you are. We've got people in there who are doing, 5, probably 10 millions probably, but we've got people who are starting out and haven't even made revenue yet. It's called the Freedom Collective, and you can find me on Facebook. I have a weird name, Shaa Wasmund, easy to find across all social media. And the Freedom Collective is an entirely free Facebook group that Janey is part of. And we don't do promos in there. So it's a real tight-knit community. So you're not going to join and suddenly be bombarded with a bunch of people trying to sell you essential oils or anything else. You will literally just be amongst a group of hardworking, like-minded small businesses and entrepreneurs, all wanting to move forwards together.
Love it. Shaa Wasmund, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. It's been great to chat to you. Thank you.
Pleasure.
So make sure you check out the Freedom Collective on Facebook and the many courses for small business people that Shaa offers. As promised, I thought you might want to hear about mixing mocktails and great alcohol-free drinks. And I love this brand. I absolutely love their Bellini. So welcome to Avnish from Sipling.
So one of the absolute joys of being alcohol-free is the incredible array of amazing drinks. And many people have loved for years and years and years amazing cocktails. And now we can rediscover exactly how fabulous they are alcohol-free. And I'm really pleased that my guest is Avnish Babla from Sipling. Avnish, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast.
Thank you for having me, Janey.
Tell us a bit about your story then, and what led you to create this brand, and then we'll talk more about the uniqueness of what it is that you have on offer.
Sure. Yeah, my wife and I moved to the UK from Canada about 5 years ago, and I think one of the first things that we noticed is just ingrained in the social fabric of Britain is the amount of drinking that's involved. Whether you're
Yeah.
whether you're at events after work with workmates, sporting events, even a picnic in the park has some element of drinking around it. And we were very much involved in that for a few years while we enjoyed our new life in London. But about 2 years ago, my wife and I were trying for a child, and she was able to cut out alcohol quite easily, and we both committed to living healthier lives. But I found it very difficult to cut out alcohol, just given how ingrained it was in my working culture. A lot of team events, late nights, client meetings. So alcohol is very much a key component of that. And it was just difficult to cut it out completely, given that there weren't great alternatives to alcoholic drinks. You just found sparkling waters, juices, or colas, but there weren't any other complex drinks that kind of fulfilled that gap if you weren't drinking. So I love making cocktails at home. I call myself the dinner party mixologist, and when friends and family are over, I like to make cocktails for them. So for me, it was more of a curiosity to see, could I take that love of making cocktails and translate that into an alcohol-free version of the drinks I love, but with all the same exuberance and curiosity and complexity of those flavors of alcoholic cocktails. So it was about 12 months of experimentation in my kitchen, many late nights. My kitchen turned into a bit of a laboratory. A lot of different ingredients that I tried throughout the months just to get that right flavor profile and to get those nice, complex, intricate flavors from alcoholic cocktails floating across your tongue. So throughout those 12 months, the industry, the low and no category, just exploded.
Yeah, I was just about to say, because if we're talking kind of 5 years ago or whatever, then you would have been ahead of this incredible trend at that point, wouldn't you? So I guess all these amazing sort of alcohol-free spirits, in inverted commas, would have started to come on board.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, we saw that growth, and we said, well, we have an interesting opportunity here. By that point, I developed a range of 10 different cocktails that I just drank myself at my house or served to friends. So early last year, we took it a step further and engaged the help of a commercial kitchen here in London to really refine the drinks, get them commercially viable, did a lot of focus groups and market studies just to make sure we had something that the consumers were looking for. And we launched in November 2019 with an array of 6 incredible alcohol-free cocktails.
So we should say then these are pre-mixed in inverted commas. So you're not buying the spirit version thingy sort of individually and then mixing it. You've done that work for us, and that's what's great. So you can buy this beautiful bottle, and it's ready to go, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. We've done all the hard work. So if you're curious about alcohol-free, or you just want to see what's out there, but you're not an expert, you're not a mixologist, we've done all that work for you in that we blended the drinks. All you have to do is just chill, serve, and sip.
Great. Let's talk through some of your flavors then, and your best sellers, if you like. What are the different ones?
We have a broader range of flavors. We realize that not everyone has the same flavor palette. So we've created quite a unique range, starting from a Bellini, which is a nice aromatic peach and Prosecco essence drink, very effervescent, very sparkling.
Yeah, I love
nice
that
replacement.
one.
Yeah, nice replacement for a Bellini when you're having a bottomless boozy brunch. You can substitute in that alcoholic Bellini with our version, and you wouldn't tell that you're missing out on that experience. We have very classic gin and tonics, nice juniper notes, very citrus essence. That one's a very classic clean drink. We have the refreshing and minty mojito. So this one is quite popular with key demographics in our target audience. Then we have a few more complex drinks. We have the Moscow Mule, which is a vodka essence, which is a ginger beer, very fiery ginger beer, gives you a nice burn on your tongue, and has that vodka essence with some lime and mint. We have a traditional spice rum and cola, but we've taken it a bit further in that we've added some more maturity to it. We've added some smoky molasses and some cola nut to give a bit more bitter edge. And then finally, my favorite drink, and I think a lot of people's favorite drink, is a really big surprise for us, is the Old Cuban. This is a nice spice rum essence with some lime, some mint, and Prosecco as well. It's really a warm, festive palate. And when people try it, they initially don't know what it is, but when they do try it, they're pleasantly surprised by how complex and a mature drink it is, especially given that it's alcohol-free.
Yeah, I think that's one of the interesting things, isn't it? When people first try alcohol-free drinks, particularly if they're used to drinking spirits. You see, I didn't ever really drink spirits. I didn't go down that slippery slope, thank goodness. But when people are used to kind of drinking whiskey or rum or those kinds of spirits, they sometimes don't they don't get the kind of depth, if you like, do they, of flavor when they move to sort of alcohol-free alternatives. So how do you think you've managed to achieve that then with the one you just mentioned? What do people say they like about it?
So with the Old Cuban, there are a number of flavors that come through. So you have ginger, you have molasses, you have cloves, cinnamon, a lot of Caribbean spices. So it's making sure that we accentuate those flavors and let them rest on the palate, on the tongue, so that the consumer can explore those flavors within their mouth. So we do add a touch of vegetable glycerin in there, which is common in whiskeys and rums, and that just provides a bit more viscosity to the drink so that the flavors can remain on the tongue a bit longer.
Yeah. When people do make their own sort of mocktails at home, what would be a top tip you could give to people?
Yeah, top tips that we can have for if you are making your own alcohol-free cocktails at home is adding that bit of that burn, that spicy element on your tongue. And you can achieve this a few different ways. One is with a touch of capsaicin or with ginger. So mixing ginger beer with other sort of flavors helps recreate some of that nice depth within the drink. You can also explore a few other elements like black pepper extracts work really well, just in creating that bit of zing and that buzz in the tip of your tongue, as well as that nice warming flow down your throat.
That's a great idea. So with your drinks, then we can buy them individually or in a pack. Is that how it works?
Yeah, so we sell our drinks on our website, sipling.com, as well as Amazon, Wise Bartender, and the Camden Grocer. We sell them in cases of 6. So we have 6 SKUs that I mentioned, and you can get a case of all 6. Or we also have what's called a tasting pack, and this is by far our most popular product. It has one of each of our drinks, so you can explore our full range and either rediscover one of your classic favorites or discover a new favorite. So that one does very, very well on our online channels.
So obviously you sell online. Are you also at this point, obviously when the world is normal, are you in any bars or anywhere else, or is it just online?
So we are, well, as of before this crisis, we were in quite a few independent bars and cafes.
Right.
And a lot of long conversation cycles happening in the background, which unfortunately have been paused, but we're hoping to resume them once the pandemic is over.
Sure. I should ask, of course, because people will be thinking, what about the sugar content? How sort of calorific are they for anyone who needs to be concerned about that?
So our drinks are fairly healthy. They are all under the 5 grams per 100 ml sugar tax. So they range between 3 to 4.5 grams of sugar per 100 ml, and they're all natural cane sugar. The calorie content for of our drinks, the Bellini, the gin and tonic, the mojito, the Moscow Mule, and the spice rum and cola are between 60 to 70 calories per bottle, so fairly reasonable. The Bellini and the Old Cuban are a bit more caloric in that they use a white grape concentrate, so they are around 100 calories per bottle, so still fairly reasonable.
Yeah, no, that is good, because one of the things that bothers me when I if I do go into a restaurant, or I remember when I was on holiday and I asked for a mocktail, they'll mix you something up, but it's unbelievably sweet. I mean, it's like a kid's drink. I don't know what they put in that syrup, but my goodness, it's way too sweet for me. So that's fantastic that you're able to make that kind of proper sophisticated taste without ladening on the sugar. And it goes without saying you don't add artificial sweeteners, right?
That's correct. All of our drinks are naturally flavored.
Yeah, fantastic. That's great. So what would you hope for the future then, Avnish, with the alcohol-free market? I'm always interested to know what, as a drinks producer, where do you see all of this going? Maybe if I was to interview you in a year's time, how do you think the whole market will have changed, both for you and all the kind of drinks brands out there?
I think we've seen quite a bit of transformation in this past year alone, especially with retailers taking on many alcohol-free products. Alcohol-free beers and spirits have really grown in the past year. I think what I would like to see is more inclusiveness with the on-trade, so bars and restaurants.
Yeah.
I think alcohol-free spirits are getting a strong foothold in these establishments, but traditionally ready-to-drink cocktails, alcoholic and alcohol-free, have a bit more of a challenge when it comes to being served in an establishment like a pub or a restaurant. So I'd like to see these types of establishments be more open in serving ready-to-drink cocktails, especially given how complex it is and how difficult it is to recreate the familiarity, those familiar flavors of an alcoholic cocktail in an alcohol-free version. Several bartenders and mixologists are able to do this, but we'd like to see more of these offerings, a more broad array of alcoholic-free flavors for consumers to enjoy.
Yeah, I agree, definitely. Well, fantastic. I love the work that you're doing. I think the drinks are absolutely great. They're also perfect just to kind of take along as a gift for somebody. It's a great gift, because it's such a nice introduction, isn't it? Whether people are drinking or not, what's not to like? You hand somebody a lovely bottle. Your packaging is lovely as well, by the way. And you hand someone this lovely bottle of, alcohol-free Bellini or whatever. It's a great gift. So well done you. It's a really great brand.
Well, thank you very much. I'm glad you enjoy them, Janey, and thank you for having us.
Yeah, give us your website then so people can find out more information.
You can find us on our website. It's www.sipling.com.
Excellent. Avnish, thank you.
Thank you, Janey.
So don't forget, you can keep the ritual, change the ingredients. What do I mean by that? You can still have a lovely drink in an evening if you're keeping your rhythm of doing some work during the day. Maybe you are going out to work, whatever it is you're doing, and you think, oh my goodness, I need to do the thing I've always done. Then yes, get a nice glass. Hate the fact that we have to call them a wine glass. Get a nice glass and have a lovely chilled drink in it. Try something like Sipling. Have one of the amazing alcohol-free drinks out there. Make yourself a fabulous mocktail, or pimp your tonic, or whatever it is for you. But keep the ritual, change the ingredients. I'm loving that phrase right now. Coming up on the podcast, I've got so many great guests to bring you. I'm going to be interviewing Jessica Huey. It was very interesting to hear Shaa talk as she did about just thinking for the future and thinking what it is you want to do. Maybe you can take some of your work online. Maybe you have got a hobby that you can do during this time. And Jessica Huey is a leading author who talks about purpose and how we can bring that into our life. So I'm looking forward to bringing that to you. Alex, the sober sommelier, is one of my guests coming up on the podcast in the next few weeks, and a whole host of others. Also, make sure you check out my Facebook. I've got a new kind of little Facebook group called Imperfectly Natural Self-Care. So you're welcome to do that. It's a free Facebook group. I'm putting lots of stuff on there just around generic health and well-being. So come and join us there. And, any way that we can help you, just reach out. Obviously, if you're interested in joining the Sober Club, it would be amazing to have you. We have incredible support there. I've just uploaded more content into the member portal. There's masses of stuff there. We have exclusive content from Dr. David Hamilton, who was our guest last week. And I've just recorded an reduce anxiety with EFT training in the member portal. So there's loads of stuff there, as well as our community, exclusive Facebook community. So check it out if you're interested, thesoberclub.com. But whatever is going on for you, if money is an issue for you right now, don't let that stop you from accessing any help that you need. Please reach out. People are there for you, I promise. You know how to find me. At Janey Lee Grace, pretty much everywhere. Imperfectly Natural Self-Care is the group on Facebook, and you can always message me or send me an email. Stay well, stay positive, try and boost your immunity, try and focus on great mindset, and I'll see you next week. Thank you for listening to the Alcohol Free Life podcast with Janey Lee Grace. Please subscribe to us on iTunes, rate us, share on social media, and tune in again.